The ownership case of Botswana's Forest Hill farm will yet again be back in court on Tuesday. The Attorney General and the Registrar of Deeds there is challenging the country's High Court judgment that the Ba-Gamalete Tribe are the rightful owners of Forest Hill farm. Let's get a sense of what this is all about. We're joined by Anneke Meerkotter, who is the legal representative for the Balete People in Botswana. Anneke, thank you very much for your time this morning. Perhaps just a little bit of context into what this is all about.
Sure. Good morning, Dudu. Thank you for having us on. Just a correction, I'm not the actual legal representative, but our organization supports the case itself and the tribe in their fight. Perhaps to give a bit of a background. So the Ba-Gamalete Tribe, which have existed for or have been designated more than a century ago, they lived on tribal land, continue to do so, but there was a scarcity of resources, land resources and land availability as far back as the previous century. So in 1922, they bought a piece of land from their own money, which is title deed land that's owned by the farm, and that's the Forest Hill farm. At some point, the laws got changed in Malawi in the 70s, where the title deed land owned by the farm actually got included within the tribal land of the farm, or the tribal territory. And the problem with this is that all tribal land in Botswana are governed by land boards, and these land boards can literally do whatever they want with that land. So it takes away control of the land from the tribe themselves. In this instance, the land board wants the piece of land and sought to do that without any consultation to the tribe or without offering compensation. And that for us is the crux of the matter, that this is one instance, but there are many instances like that throughout Botswana where land boards are able to exert power and take land from tribes. And in this specific instance, it's very high value land because it's land that's quite big. It's land that's on the periphery of Gaborone, the city. So obviously this is land where there are a lot of interest in that land from various other companies and whatever else you might have. And the fact that the tribe cannot then exert their ownership over the land, that's what's really the issue here. And whether actually the land belongs to the tribe as their own title deed land, or whether it belongs to the land board because the land board claims to administer all the tribal land in that area. So that's basically what the case is about. Okay. The tribe won in the High Court. We're hoping they will be similarly successful in the Court of Appeal on Tuesday. But what I wanted to perhaps to speak about was that this case is important because it speaks to what's happening throughout our entire region, where communities on communal land or on customary land are at risk. They have no security of tenure. The state can come and appropriate that land with ease, without consultation, without compensation, often unlawfully and without even consideration of the laws that are there to protect them. Because there's a scarcity of land, and because land in those communities are seen as being of high value, seen as so for us it's a bigger issue. It's a bigger issue around how we change the land systems within all our countries to ensure that communities have more say over their land, to ensure that they have security of tenure, and to really recognize the importance of this land for them. So land shouldn't be seen as this undeveloped land that we want to take for development, because communities have actually developed that land. They've lived on their land, their children grew up on their land, and their livelihoods also have to be recognized. And that's really what this case is about, to show the bigger problem that there is throughout our region.
Yeah. Anneke, these land boards in Botswana in particular, where do they get their mandate from?
So they get the mandate from the law itself. In the present case, the problem came when the law was amended. So they got their mandate even from a colonial era law of the 1930s. Yeah. The problem was that at the point the initial laws only dealt with the tribal land itself, but in the 70s the law was amended to actually include the title deed land that the tribe had into the tribal land, so that the land board can now even exercise control over that, which is what's an issue here in this case.
You speak of colonial era law that the government of Botswana has maintained, and you also highlighted that we need to take a look at this from a wider view, talking about the region itself. And so who benefits here if it's not the people who are fighting to get their land back? Is it the present day government that continues to benefit from colonial era law?
Absolutely. It's both the government, it's the elites within all the various countries. There is a big power relationship. It often, the problem comes in with inequality within our countries. And in the case of Botswana, this particular action is basically racist. And I put it that bluntly because if I own title deed land in Gaborone, the land board, it wouldn't be subject to the land board. But the Ba-Gamalete community owns title deed land in Gaborone, but it's subject to the land board wills and whims simply because they are a tribe. So it deals with the land differently, and that cannot be the case. It cannot be the case that some people have more security of tenure than other people, and that's something that we really need to remedy.
Yeah. What do we need to know about Forest Hill, this farm? How are they meeting the parties, if at all?
So the Forest Hill farm is actually the farm on which the community, it's the title deed farm of the community. It's a massive big property. The community uses it for grazing. They have kraals of the different villages on the land. It's very valuable land, and it's very valuable to them and to their way of life. The community has a female chief, Josi Seboko, and she has been consistently emphasizing the tribe's right to this land, and she's really been a champion for their rights. So the community itself today and on many other days are having cultural events to highlight issues around their particular fight and how that fight relates to broader issues around land rights in Botswana. They also always come in full force to the court. So we're expecting on Tuesday that the court would open up actually into 2 courts so that the community are able to actually witness the case.
How far back does this go, and what are the prospects realistically of success?
It is a case that's controversial within Botswana for many reasons, which I won't go into now. But I think there's many interests at play. And normally when that's a case, things get drawn out. The case has been going on for quite some time. The issue of the actual title of the land versus whether it belongs to the tribal authority or to the tribe has been in the court since the 1990s. This particular case arose when the land board actually specifically sought a court order that the title deed be removed from the tribe. So it goes far back, but it goes even further back because it raises the issue of how little land there is, the scarcity of land for tribes themselves, and the need for them to be able to hold on to that land. And it's that scarcity of land that made them purchase this property in the first place for the tribe's interests. And in the context of that scarcity and people trying to maintain their community, it then becomes problematic when land boards or any other state authority is able to confiscate such land without consultation.
You spoke of a need to change the land system in the region. Where do you even begin when, just like you mentioned, there's a lot of interested party in this which muddies the waters?
Absolutely. It's a good question. I think we need to in a sense, there's been many positive developments in the region where there have been movements to ensure or increase security of tenure for people living on customary land. So there has been good developments. The constitutions in all our countries protect the right to property, and often that's read to include the right to customary land. The problem comes in with almost collusion in how land is being dealt with, often at the district level, sometimes higher at national levels in all our countries, where because of the high value of land, the general land grabbing by corporations, by big companies throughout Africa, it means there's money at play and it's easy to bribe people or to use cash as a way for these sort of rights that exist already within our laws to be ignored. I think a very important thing throughout our region would be for communities to be empowered to assert themselves when their rights are violated. We ourselves deal with many cases of large-scale evictions in Malawi and Zambia and Zimbabwe, in Eswatini and in Botswana. So this is happening all over. I think the problem is that these are communities that are often far away from the cities. They don't necessarily have access to legal resources to be able to challenge these land grabbing. And the bigger problem is that there's so little acknowledgement by the government of the needs of these communities. They would pay lip service to it, but ultimately they would think about, we need development, and pander to the needs of corporations and companies without actually ensuring that the sustainable development goals, like leaving no one behind, actually get implemented and realized properly for these communities.
It can't just be slogans, right, Anneke? I'm interested, you mentioned the chief of the tribe, Chief Hosi Musadi Seboko. Can you tell us more about her?
She's a very powerful woman. This is not this is a tribe that's existed for centuries, and she's in a long line of succession of chiefs. She's been threatened quite a bit by this case because there are so many interests at stake, and because people don't want the community to actually assert their rights. So she's really, I think, her leadership is and the way in which she's articulated the needs of the community is absolutely amazing. She's always at court. She commands so much reverence and respect from everyone around her because of her stand on this issue, which I think speaks to the needs of so many communities out there.
Anneke, thank you very much for your time. Anneke Meerkotter is with the Southern African Litigation Center.